As you know, there is a disaster on the border. You know, I read a piece by the chairman and CEO of Gallup. And he wrote this piece about a week ago. And Gallup does tons of surveying. It's actually a pretty good operation all over the world, as well as in the United States. And it did a massive survey of the 33 countries that are south of our border, including countries in the Caribbean. And it found that a huge percentage of the people who live in these countries want to leave those countries. 120 million. 27% of the population south of the border wants to leave those countries. 25%, give or take, of the people who want to leave those countries want to come to the United States. And he calculated it to the 1 millionth. And it's 42 million people south of the border, if they had a chance, would migrate to the United States. 42 million. Now, what Joe Biden has done by obliterating what Donald Trump put in place, and what Donald Trump put in place were common sense steps to control the border, to manage the incoming flow, to determine who is who, a child from parent and so forth. All the policies Trump put in place and negotiated with several countries south of the border, including Mexico, Joe Biden, within a few hours of becoming president, eliminated. His transition team was told by civil servants at the Department of Homeland Security, in the Border Patrol, at ICE, they were told that if he would lift all these practices that Trump put in place, at the recommendation, of course, of these civil servants who do this every day, they'd have a disaster on the border. And Biden ignored it all. Biden went ahead because Biden is about Biden, his legacy, and empowering the Democrat Party. To me, the bottom line is this. You're not hearing a lot of squealing from Democrats. You're not even hearing a lot of squealing from the media, some, but not most. The reason is they want all these people to come to the country. They want wave after wave of amnesty. That is, wave after wave of legalization, and then citizenship, and then voting. 2/3 of the Hispanic population in this country that votes for Democrats. Donald Trump got a bigger percentage than most Republicans, but you can't win if you're getting, less than 60%. And your opponent's getting 60 or 65% of the vote of a particular community. It's just the way it is, and nobody's more aware of this than the Democrat Party and the media. So this is one of the ways, as they did with California, that they wish to change the demographics. Now, the left and the Democrats, if you even dare to raise this, will say, oh, you're against the browning of America. I'm not against the browning, the whiting, the blacking, whatevering of America. I just know the Democrat Party is a diabolical institution. It's been a diabolical institution since before the Confederacy, the Civil War, segregation, as recently Jim Crow, and now so-called democratic socialism. It does not embrace Americanism. It does not embrace American sovereignty. This party is really an alien party now. There are very few moderates that run the Democrat Party. Just people who are Democrats would realize this throughout the country. Now, all that said, Joe Biden is in no hurry to fix this. He's not going to change his policies, at least not in any substantive way. So they're busy building more retention centers, AKA camps, internment centers for people to go through. Now, in these detention centers that are right on the border, the overcrowding is unbelievable by people who've been there. They say the conditions are unimaginable, that the Border Patrol and ICE are spending a significant percentage of their time caring for these people, processing these people, and unable to secure the border. So you can see the vicious cycle. You have these brutal killing machines, these drug cartels in Mexico, south of the border, are using this as an opportunity to push as many opioids and other drugs as they can into this country with their coyotes. They're also making a fortune using these kids who are being sent to the United States by their parents because Biden announced that no children will be sent back under any circumstances, which means their parents eventually will be called for and they will join them. And then there'll be chain migration behind that nobody's talking about. And so what's happening is approximately, I read 30% of the women coming are sexually molested and raped. 30%. The little girls that are coming are being given birth control pills. So many of these little kids are being molested and otherwise abused. What's happening is these cartels and other criminals are grabbing these kids and then selling them to adults who try and come across by saying that those are their children, because Biden says we will not separate children from adults. I heard this Psaki say, the idiot spokesperson for the idiot, she said that unlike the Trump administration, we will not be tearing children from their parents. The Trump administration didn't tear children from their parents. They were trying to figure out if these adults and these children belong to each other. That's actually a humane thing. It's something that needed to be determined. And in the end, the Biden administration is trying to do the same thing. The system is overwhelmed. The system is collapsing. And so what do? In order to put off some of the steam in the system, they're letting people go willy-nilly. After a few days, some they're processing for weeks. Others they're allowing to leave almost immediately, depending on the sector, without giving them paperwork for a court date, just hoping they'll show up at some point on an honor system. We already know from experts like Tom Homan and others that there really is no honor system for the vast majority of people coming into this country illegally. They do not show up for their court dates. And there's simply too many of them to send out federal officials to go and find them, and we don't find them. And hence you have this massive growing population of illegal immigrants in the country, including a certain percentage that are criminals, a certain percentage that have communicable diseases. It's just an appalling situation. It overwhelms local communities. The Biden administration is moving numbers of the illegal aliens into other states, into the interior of the country. And they also have in mind here, I'm convinced, the Democrats to change Texas. Texas is leaning purple. I never thought I'd be able to say this, but it's true politically. And it's on the cusp of turning blue. Texas turns blue, you cannot elect a Republican president, ever. Look what they did to California. California was a reliably Republican state. 2 landslides for Reagan, a landslide really for George H.W. Bush, and after that, gone. And some of the people who have been hatching these policies and ideas are taking them from California, whether it is voting systems, whether it is immigration, to change the culture, the dynamics, the demographics, citizenship in the rest of the country. They are trying to Californianize, if you will, the United States of America. This is what they're doing. This is the truth. And it is a disaster. Well, some senators went down there, among others. They're trying to see what's going on in these detention centers, which Biden now calls reception centers. He's an idiot, but nonetheless. And the press can't get into these so-called centers. And I've never seen anything like this. I don't think since Woodrow Wilson or Franklin Roosevelt have we ever had such censorship and propaganda. And what's interesting is some of the media is squawking, as I said earlier, but the vast majority are not. They're not bringing lawsuits. They're not jumping up and down. Remember when Jim Acosta was told he can't come to a presidential press briefing again because he was disrupting them? Despite the fact that there were 3 or 4 CNN reporters there, he was a problem, and we had a federal judge rule, no, he has to be there, which was such an outrageous ruling. But it's a Trump judge. I don't care. Such an outrageous ruling. And here, the American people don't get to see the inside of what's taking place in these facilities unless the Democrat congressman from this area, Henry Cuellar, who is apparently a decent guy, and he sees the inhumanity. He's taking pictures and videos he can, because phones are being actually removed from members of Congress.
Want to see more? Sign up for Levin TV.